Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are rolling along with these play-in games here on the second night of the first round here. We got the 9-10 matchups in each conference going. In this one, we're taking a look at the Eastern Conference matchup. The Hornets headed to Atlanta, taking on the Hawks there. Plenty of stuff to look at in this one, as obviously they played 4 times this season. Make sure you do check out Nate's great article up on playpicks.com. The man is writing hard, baseball, basketball, whatever you need. Check him out on playpicks.com. And also make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Check out the other couple of videos that we're going to continue to bring you. Got our player props video we roll along with, as well as the other matchup video as well that we look into. And also head to thelines.com. Make sure you check out who's in and out of the lineups. We know pretty much who's not playing tonight already. We'll get to that in a minute. But also head over to the odds checker there. Make sure you're getting the best odds available from those odds makers out there. Get the best juice on your bets. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's jump into these games.
Yeah, we got 2 road teams, 5-point dogs in both spots here. Charlotte +5 in Atlanta. That total bet down a little bit from 236.5 to 235. Also, same situation basically with San Antonio +5.5 in New Orleans. That total's been bet down from 226 to 224. And I agree with the betting public to say I'm not going to bet any overs in these play-in games. If you don't want to follow and bet an under, that's fine. But
Don't bet an over.
I'm definitely not banking on an over. When I see Minnesota put up 109, the highest scoring team in the NBA, it indicates to me it's a lot like the All-Star game when they switched to an Elam ending. It's just completely changes the nature of an NBA game down the stretch. It's just like win or go home. You are absolutely playing defense at every turn. The officials are letting you put hands on people, letting you slow people down. I mean, in the playoffs in general, you have to see these totals kind of drop eventually before you're willing to take an over, in my opinion. I mean, just looking through the Hawks game log in the playoffs last season, it's crazy to see that they went 12-5-1 to the under, and their overs, which only 2 happened at home, by the way, their overs are still, going to like 227, 228. They're not at this level, which we've become accustomed to in the regular season, which is to say, like, yeah, of course, Charlotte and Atlanta will get to 240 because they're going to be out there running and gunning and having fun. It's like, no, this is a big game. This is a playoff game. It's basically like a game 7. And Atlanta, as much as they've been better offensively at home in their last 12, 11-1 straight up, 125 offensive rating. Their defense is also better. 114 offensive rating. That's 4.5 points better. Allowing 112. Pace down to below 98. Those games averaging 235, which is exactly where we're at. And I know Charlotte is a team that you would expect to go above the averages for sure. But I'm a little concerned about them. I mean, they didn't show up in the play-in game last season. Those play-in games that did go over, which Josh reminded me of, they involved the Pacers and the Wizards, who were just playing at such silly season all year last year. The Pacers were just silliness, 153, 149. Wizards basically the same thing with Westbrook just pushing the pace at every turn. So I'm not really reading that much into that. I'm more thinking about the way the Hawks started the playoffs last season, which granted they were playing the Knicks, but it was defense. All of a sudden, Clint Capella, who I really think they've been sandbagging all year in terms of keeping him fresh, slow playing, if you will. I think he'll come out and protect the rim. Charlotte, not as efficient in the paint, not at all. I mean, they're scoring most of their points from beyond the 3-point arc, but Atlanta pretty good defending that at home comparatively. I mean, the numbers are pretty stark for Atlanta. As I said, 11 of their last 12 at home. Charlotte's been no slouch on the road and winning 11 of their last 15 to get into the playoffs. But I'm definitely leaning towards Atlanta here to win this game. I don't like 5 points, though, either, because, again, it's a do-or-die situation. So if you are comfortable betting an under or agreeing with me that these totals are too high, tease it up, 239, get the Hawks at -1. You should feel pretty safe about that. Or you can look at some of these player performance doubles we'll talk about a little later on.
Yeah, interesting. So you would rather tease the under up to 239 rather than tease that over down to 231.5, you're saying?
Playoffs.
I mean, yeah, you kept saying playoffs, and obviously Jim Mora's voice is running through my head. Playoffs, but this is the playoffs, and that does mean the even the pace does slow down a bit. It's also just about the shot selection, some tired legs, people being able to put hands on you. I totally agree. The play-in games aren't necessarily the moment I'm targeting that strongly with that much confidence to go under, the way that I'm going to target an under in the next couple rounds that we start looking at, right? I mean, I feel like Vegas really is slow to adjust the total and the lines that they set for the totals in NBA playoff games until maybe the second, even the conference finals is really when they start to realize that things are tightening up. They've now been playing basketball since October. It's almost June by this point in the conference finals. And so, yeah, I think, tired legs start to come into play. You tighten up. It becomes a lot more about who can get their own bucket on a one-on-one matchup and just beat their man. And then you give the ball to that person each and every single time. Trae Young is that person. If you want to consider this an elimination game, he wasn't great in elimination games last season, even in that victory against that game 7 that they beat Philly in 43 minutes. He still kind of struggled, and you saw a couple other guys take over, including Kevin Huerter, who went off, I believe, for 26 in that one. So I'm not necessarily using that, but he did have his struggles against Charlotte this season. I do think there's a lot of sort of individual performances that you look at in the matchup between these two teams this season, which there were 4 of them, so it's a decent sample size that you look at and you go, oh, okay, that under is ripe here. I mean, starting with Scary Terry on the Hornets, 11 points a game. So in three matchups against the Hornets this season, shooting 15% from 3, 30 something percent from the field, just not having good games against a team that does not defend the backcourt well in terms of Atlanta. They do not have a good backcourt defense, obviously starting with Trae Young, who is definitely at best a liability to a degree. So, I think that you start there. He didn't play well against them. Trae at 20 and about 20.8 points per game against them in his 4 games this season against the Hornets. Not good numbers against a team that also not great against defending the backcourt, but I mean, they do have size and length all over the floor, especially with, Terry and LaMelo Ball standing like 6'7". So there is going to be some, at least the ability to get a hand up in Trae's face on those pick and rolls. But I also do agree that Clint Capella is coming in and the rebounding is going to be huge in terms of limiting things. Charlotte is a bad rebounding team. I mean, I believe they have the second worst defensive rebounding percentage. And the Hawks, they get offensive rebounds. I mean, they're still in the top 15 this season in terms of offensive rebounding efficiency and getting second chance points. So that's an area that I think they will be able to take advantage of the Hornets as well. I too, though, I don't love 5.5. That's where I saw it originally. It is down to 5 on DK on DraftKings there, but I don't like 5.5 points for the Hawks, to be honest, because I do think that the Hornets are going to come along for points. So I kind of, if I'm teasing this, I actually prefer the inverse of the total and getting the Hawks maybe down to 1.5, so that because I do think they're going to win this game. But I kind of want that to go over 2. If this was at 230, I would hit it. So at 231.5 and a tease there, I still feel good about it because I do think that this game goes over 230, even if there is a bit of struggles on certain areas of the floor for a lot of the guys. I think Atlanta's defense, 3-point defense, slightly better at home. It's still bad. It's still about bottom 10, bottom 11 in the league on the season, no matter where they're playing. And Charlotte's just pulling, man. Right? They're chucking from 3. We know that, especially since the All-Star, the All-Star break. Interestingly enough, both these teams ending super well too. I do like the Hawks to win this game, to be honest with you. They're pulling a little bit of what they had last season, starting 17-25 this year, ending 26-14. Last year, they ended about 25-8, I believe, in their last 33-ish games of the season. So they are coming on strong and sort of pulling the same routine as last season. The Hawks, however, 13-5 since Gordo went down. As we know, he's been out for 18 games now, and they've been pulling it together too. Their defensive rating gotten a little bit better, but they're still keeping that offensive rating near 120. So I do think with the pace that these two teams are going to play at, it just scares me. Definitely, like you said, I know you're not saying take an under. I just know you're now a little bit more afraid of overs. I think that yes, this game might tighten up, but I also think that, the Hawks' ability to get to the free throw line in the fourth quarter will help them. I know Charlotte does limit free throw attempts, which does also help your case for an under there. But I think there's too many areas of the floor, including the 3-point line for, on the Hawks side of the ball and Charlotte side of the ball, that I think there'll be some points to be had. I think Trey will get his to a degree, and that, you'll see a lot from there's too many guys and weapons up for Charlotte for that bad Atlanta offense to really be able to lock all of them up.
The bad Atlanta defense, you mean?
Defense, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not going to fight anybody if they want to, tease it down and get a 231 over, but I don't think it's a smart bet, just the way these playoff games are going, and the way the Hawks played defense last season when it got to playoff time. You got the same numbers here. They finished 26-14 this year after finishing 25-8 last year, carrying that momentum in. I mean, everybody knows that's how you win playoff games. It's not by running and gunning. And the biggest thing to support that is, the Hornets are all fun and games in 124 defensive ratings and offensive ratings when they're playing other teams that don't really care and or just aren't even like playing their NBA players down the stretch. But in their last 12 as underdogs, they're 8-4 to the under. The exceptions are, giving up 144 to teams like the Sixers and the Heat that are just juggernauts and can bully them down low. They've done a pretty good job on Trae Young, and he is the Hawks offense, like you said. So I think with LaMelo and Rozier hounding him, with PJ Washington being a very switchable big that they can use down there, I think they'll hold this Hawks offense down to a degree. But I also think that the Hawks will, there's not much playoff experience here. There's not much weaponry on offense for Charlotte other than the fact that they play at a blinding pace and try to get out and beat you or get free throws. I would take the under on their team total at 115.5, sort of similar to how we felt about Cleveland, Brooklyn on Tuesday. Look, we don't know if they're going to come along. Right. We would attack like a generally low scoring game with the favorite just exerting their will on that end. So, I mean, I'm on board with that. And I would actually look at unders for Trae Young. 42.5 points and assists is ridiculous. It's to a point, it's the mythology of the man and what he did at the Garden last year. Yeah. I'm not riding that. 31.5 points straight up is too high. I'm not taking the overs there. That's the same way I feel about the game. I think this game will get a little choppy. And if the Hornets are able to continue holding Trae in check, I think we're definitely going under.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking yourself into under, and honestly, I think you still like the Hornets, right? Like if you're going to choose either side of the line here, 5 just seems like a bit much for how well these teams are sort of matched up. I mean, the thing is like, activate playoff Trae Young, right? To a degree, it's like ice Trae time. I mean, if last playoffs is indicative at all, right? I mean, we were talking about 29 points a game, 9.5 assists. That still doesn't get you to that ridiculous 42.5 points and assists. So in no way, shape or form am I suggesting that somebody feel good about taking over 42.5 points and assists combined for Trae Young. It's just too much, but he did have a 35% usage rate throughout the playoffs in those 16 games. And he's shooting, not a great percentage from 3, but he's about 3 for 9.
Wasn't Bogey and Gallo out for like that whole playoff run though?
For a bit.
They got more
for a bit, and they have more now, and they're going to need more, to be honest, because they weren't great against the Hornets this season either. In those 4 matchups, 2-2, whatever. But yeah, I guess for the total, I do prefer a bit of a couple of teases, and I know we're going to talk a bit about the Western Conference game, and maybe you can look at incorporating some of those lines in there if you would like to get a tease, even a 3-teamer, if you feel good about getting the tease, the total one way or the other, and then honestly like figuring out how to either get the Hawks down to, it's got to be under 2 points for me to want to take them, or honestly getting the Hornets up a bit, because I do think they come along, right? I do think the Hornets come along enough to keep pace. I don't know what that sort of offensive efficiency will be throughout that pace, and that's the key here. But yeah, I still think that this doesn't have the feeling of a blowout for Atlanta in this one. Like we said, there's just too many solid matchups for both teams on the floor, very evenly competitive, and this is gonna be a fun game, man. I think we're gonna have a good time watching this one. There should be some good offense, and we'll see what happens with the defense. But that is all the time we have for you in this one. So make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Check out the other couple videos we have for you on this second night of the NBA play-in games. And until we see you next, happy betting.